Namanda, 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 namanda.
Good morning. Welcome to today's Socho Ki Bishop's Memorial and Rennyo Shonin Memorial Service. My name is Kent Yoshiwara. I'll be your chairperson today. We'll begin with Sambujo on page 24 and 25, followed by reading of Hyobakumon, purpose of the service.
today on this occasion of the Socho Ki and the Rennyo Shonin Memorial Service, members of our temple families have reverently come before Amida Buddha. With deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida, we reaffirm the three homages. Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie Soul. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Please repeat the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Now we will have Sutra Chanting, Butsu Ge on page 79. Please stand for Gatha Nembutsu 1 on page 169, and remain standing for the reading of the Golden Chain 1 on page 15.
Page 15, Golden Chain, number 1. Together. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Please be seated.
Now, Reverend Fujimoto will share a Dharma message with us.
Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. Okay, we have another special service today. The Socho Ki is the Bishop's Memorial, and we are also holding Rennyo Shonin Memorial, both today. So for the Socho Ki Bishop's Memorial, we hold this in memory of all the bishops of the Buddhist Churches of America who have passed on. And this service is held in very grateful memory for the efforts that they have made on behalf of the Buddha Dharma and supporting all of our temples here in the United States. So, as we come and support doing efforts here, bazaar and obon and such programs, a clothing drive and all these things, our efforts and our donations that come to the temple given so that these programs that were developed through the guidance and leadership of our past bishops can continue on into the future. So just last week we had our atomic bomb memorial, and for most of the week we had our cranes hanging on the gate and reminding us of a difficult and very tragic time in the history of America, Japan, and the world. So our temples and our leaders, the bishops, have played a large role in the voice for wisdom and compassion. And this is a message that we have as Buddhists, and we try to carry it on so that it resonates in our families, in our communities, in our world. So one of the bishops, Bishop Koyu Uchida, was one of the very early bishops, and I wanted to tell a little bit of a story. When we have these, the Bishop's Memorial, the Socho Ki, have a hard time even saying it, right? Yeah, so Socho Ki, different than the Shotsuki, the monthly memorial, right? Kind of similar but different. Say each of those 10 times real fast. So, yes, but when we have these services, we're able to hear some of the stories of the different bishops that have served here in America, and through that we get to know who they were and what they did. So Bishop Koyu Uchida was one of the very first ones before the Buddhist Churches of America was the Buddhist Mission of North America. And so for 18 years he was the bishop from 1905 to 1923. And during this time in America, there was concern about Japan becoming a military power in the world and in competition with the United States and influence in the Pacific. Okay, so here in the United States, white farmers, labor groups, they were concerned about Japanese workers coming in, not only concerned but resentful. So these led to rising discrimination against the Japanese that were coming and the Japanese communities. So this was constant friction and conflict that was there. Immigrants that came from Japan to San Francisco went to Angel Island. Some of us have toured and are familiar with Angel Island facility, and some were held there for days or weeks or even months before they could come into the United States. And then in 1906, San Francisco Board of Education moved to refuse to have students from Japan to be allowed to go to the public schools. Okay, so this was 1906. And then 1913, California alien land law was adopted, and so these immigrants from Japan couldn't own or lease long-term agricultural land. So these are all restrictions that were put in place to keep the Japanese from minimizing their influence, and a lot of discrimination was involved here. And in 1920, the United States House of Representatives held a hearing that calls for greater restrictions on immigrants that were coming from Japan. And at those hearings, common story, a theme that you would hear is that
the Buddhist temples. Okay, there were Japanese that came from Japan, and some were Christian, some were Buddhist, but more so the Buddhist temples. The idea was that they were more loyal to the Emperor of Japan. Okay, and so a threat to our national security here in America. And you still hear that, I think, when you go to our spiritual centers. You know, the Buddhist temples are closer to the traditions. We have Bon Odori and things like this, and things that are close to traditions of Japan were carried on at our Buddhist temples more so than at our Christian Christian churches, right? And so maybe this is where the ideas were founded. Japanese language was more prominent as well. And so when they were taken to camp, first targeted were community leaders and the ministers, people who had correspondence with Japan for whatever reason, were held in suspicion and taken away separately. And so we've heard those stories. Okay. So while these hearings were going on, Bishop Uchida wrote a letter to the Congress that I wanted to share with you. So this went into the congressional records July 14th, 1920. And he clearly states the purpose of our temples. So trying to put it on record that what these temples are about and why we brought these temples from Japan to the United States. This is what he wrote. When the Buddhist mission of North America was first started in 1899 at San Francisco, California, it had for its object the purpose of the salvation of mankind through spiritual enlightenment and the realization of universal brotherhood and fraternal love as taught by the Buddha, the enlightened one, 2,500 years ago. Our mission is to elevate the spiritual life, not to dictate politics or policies of any government. We should also like to point out that Buddhism is democratic, an ideal long held by the citizens of the United States of America. Okay. So a very concise message that he wrote out to the Congress here, and clearly, I think, articulating the purpose of our temples and to provide the teachings of the Buddha here for our spiritual development. It was very courageous of him to write this letter, to make this statement. So I think when we think about that, then our own, we come here and it's very easy. We have access to the Dharma, to the teachings. We have connection to our communities, and more and more. These temples are opening beyond Japanese American, through marriage and just people becoming aware of Buddhism, and things are just much more open now. So we have many, people from all over are coming to our temples now, and it's opening wider and wider. And I've always thought myself that, if it's just so ethnocentric, Japanese American, that we should shut them all down, because that's not the message, right? It should be for all people everywhere. And this was the message that Bishop Uchida was able to share and write to Congress during this time when all these things were going on. Okay. So now I have a separate story. This portion, the Rennyo Shonin Memorial. Okay. So just to know, sometimes we don't talk too much about Rennyo Shonin, and on our altar, central is Amida Buddha, and over here on this side, on this sub-altar, is Shinran Shonin, the founder of our school, this sect of Buddhism. And opposite his side is Rennyo Shonin, and he is the 8th Monshu, 8th descendant of Shinran Shonin, and so he was very influential in enlivening the tradition of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So much was done under his guidance, and So we don't have opportunity too often to talk about Rennyo Shonin, but Rennyo was a bad man. That guy, he was amazing, and when he first started, he was to be the eighth Monshu, right? But there was a conflict there. He had a mother-in-law that had her son, and she thought he should be the eighth descendant, the next Gomonshu. And so it wasn't so clear. People who had that power to make these decisions supported Rennyo Shonin. But she, the mother-in-law, got very upset and moved out and took a lot of the property that was Honganji property, things that she could sell and make her own money out of. She stole and took these away. And because of that, Rennyo Shonin started his guidance in extreme poverty. They didn't have everything that they should have had, right? Everything was barren all of a sudden. So he started with very little at his Honganji temple, and the temple had dwindled, and he wanted to build this back up. And so he went through this difficulty, and he also had a lot of personal difficulty, separation that he felt, losing people in his own family life, right? Children and wives died of sickness, and one after another. Rennyo married 5 times. That's a lot. He fathered 13 sons, 14 daughters. Prolific. Yeah, so, he's going through all these, and, he's just not picking different women to marry. They died because of illness and things like this, and sons and daughters are passing away. And so he's going through this struggle throughout his life, losing someone, coming to a funeral. It's a very difficult thing to go through this grieving process, and he had to encounter and endure that time and again. And so when you read Rennyo's writings, impermanence, we talk about impermanence quite a bit as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, as Buddhists, and a lot of it has to do with Rennyo's writings, that he referred to impermanence because of so many sad events that occurred in his life. So time and time again. So in his writings, he's known for writing many letters, and 266 letters are called the letters of Rennyo, okay? And a few of them were put together and under the title of the Gobonsho, okay? So a collection of Rennyo's letters, and we hear about the Gobonsho when we come to a Shin Buddhist funeral. It is traditional to read on the white ashes. So this is the Shin Buddhist perspective of facing death. So this is written by Rennyo Shonin, and at all of our funerals we read this, hopefully in Japanese and in English. I think the Japanese has a very powerful tone to it that does not get conveyed when we say the same thing in English. Okay. So the collection of the Gobonsho, it's very interesting because I explained at our funerals that he wrote a series of letters, and these are passed out throughout the countryside, not in scholarly language, but very simple Japanese language, so that people, the peasants, the farmers, the countrymen, not the elite, everyday people could read these letters and understand what he was saying. And so this was done purposely by Rennyo. Okay, he targeted who he's writing these letters to. Okay, so Shin Buddhist perspective on a number of topics, and he wrote it so that families, young women with children, they would read these letters or hear about these letters or talk about these letters, and through that, their children would know concisely what Jodo Shinshu Buddhism is saying, right? Not this dialogue about academic perspectives, right? But very simple language that they can all understand and appreciate, at the same time correctly conveying Jodo Shinshu message. Okay, so this is sent to unlettered people, and a big target is that of the housewives. Okay, so I think that's very special, and that's always moved me. You know, sometimes I wonder about emphasis of the academia, where, you know, it seems like there's a value in making these connections, be able to talk and to meet and to convey. You know, we don't want just people who know about Buddhism, but they have to know this sense of the values, how they treat each other, how we talk to each other, and hold those values in the things we do here at the temple and wherever we are, right? Not just to sit at a table and debate or go home and read another book and think we know something. There's more to that. And he was trying to point that out and direct this to the young children, to the housewives. And this is a very powerful, powerful aspect of what Rennyo was able to do. And in his letters, he puts an order to the things. One of the very often read letters that Rennyo wrote is called The Tradition of Shinran Shonin. So he's explaining what was Shinran Shonin's perspective. So just, again, a short letter, but he points out that what is taught in the tradition of Shinran Shonin is that the entrusting heart is essential. For when we abandon various practices and take refuge in Amida with singleness of heart, our birth in the Pure Land is settled by the Buddha through the inconceivable vow power. So he's telling us clearly, move away from our own self-effort. So this other power school of Shin Buddhism means to acknowledge that this other, Amida, is directing compassion towards us. Not how long I can sit in meditation, not how many books I can read, not how many classes I can take, but to allow yourself to not be so ego-driven and I gotta do, I gotta be, I gotta make myself a better Buddhist, and that is selfishness that is not going away. So when we are accepting, then we're stepping beyond our self-centeredness. That's what allows us to be accepting, right? And so this is the perspective in Shin Buddhism, in Shinran Shonin's writings, that Rennyo was trying to convey in so many different letters, so many different ways. So in that order, the awakening that they call Shinjin, awakened awareness, comes first. And then Namo Amida Butsu, I'm so grateful that I have received this compassion. Okay, Namo Amida Butsu doesn't awaken you. It's not like a secret passage that we get somewhere, right? It doesn't work like this. Namo Amida Butsu just means thank you, right? So I think when we look at both of these, you know, Bishop Uchida and Rennyo Shonin, and not only studying or learning about Buddhism, but the impact that our temples have endured when we move here. One of the reasons I talk about this often at funeral services, sometimes there are younger, you know, children that are here that don't necessarily come to the temple, but they come and maybe they're hearing for the first time. But the families came to America in areas of Japan that were very strong in this form of Buddhism, Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So they came from Japan and settled here. That's why we have so many temples, Shin Buddhist temples here. Okay, there's others, Nichiren or Zen Buddhist temples, but these are the ones that were directed in Japan by the teachings that it was family-oriented, grassroots Buddhism, right? So those are the people that are going to move to another country. If you're well off, you're not going anywhere. You're just going to enjoy your life. So these struggling people, and no matter what, Japan or England or wherever the culture came from, it's the people who are not so well off. They're the people that wanted an adventure and try to make some money in a new country and send it back to home. And these are the pioneers. So the first generation of Japanese Americans, Japanese to come here, were strongly Shin Buddhist families. That's why you hear, oh yeah, Grandma knew Grandma Kato in Japan, and they were friends from a long time ago. So what? Oh yeah. We've been family friends even in Japan for generations and generations. And you know, when you first hear those kind of stories, you wonder, how can that be? You know, you came from a different part of the world, came to this part of the world, and they were friends and knew each other. So yeah, they were neighbors and they lived in the same area, you know, living side by side for generations and generations. So families that lived there moved over here together, and they knew each other there, and they continued that relationship here. Now it's changing because people are moving, families are a little more scattered now, and so it's different. But in those days, families stayed. The village meant something, right? The little townships meant something, that they lived side by side for generations and generations. And this closeness is what's brought here and came to become our temples. A lot of the temples helping each other, guiding, learning from what they had left in Japan, and coming to build something similar, to build these community centers that could still function and hold our communities together, and not only to share time and things, but to have programs and opportunities to hear the Dharma. So from the bishops here, Rennyo Shonin's efforts, connection to each of our families as they moved here. This is all kind of a continuation. And the story of Bishop Chida, the story of Rennyo, we are connected to those stories. And we remind ourselves of those connections when we have this type of service. Okay. So please join me in Gassho, and I'll read this quote again. What is taught in the tradition of Shinran Shonin is that the entrusting heart is essential. For when we abandon various practices and take refuge in Amida with singleness of heart, our birth in the Pure Land is settled. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei, for your message. I guess especially on the background of Rennyo Shonin, and I think the timely message on Bishop Uchida. Thank you. Please stand for Gatha Ondukusan on page 220. Thank you to those who helped with the altar preparations and with the service. Reverend Dennis. Doing our YouTube is Brian and Kimberly. Altar flowers, Jane. Organist, Lenny. And those who brought refreshments. Thank you. And I think we do have some visitors here today. If I could ask for our visitors to stand up and introduce yourselves.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Monshu. I've lived over here for more than 30 years. Go to school at college, Alameda. I live over there. And I want to do more than visiting soon. But I also go to church at St. Joseph. Take care. Stay in school, stay away from drugs. Go vegetarian and invest your money into the Lord to help you live. To help you life.
Thank you. I think we have a couple more visitors. I think we have some baseball players from Japan. I don't know their names. Thank you. Welcome. Anybody else? All right, I'll move on to announcements. Next 3 Sundays, no service. August 17th, 24th is Reverend Fujimoto's vacation. And no service on the 31st, that's the 5th Sunday of the month. Sunday, September 7th, Shotsuki monthly memorial service and ABWA meeting. Sunday, September 14th is Ohigan service, guest speaker Elaine Donnellan, minister's assistant, Buddhist Church of San Francisco. And then I'll call up Joyce for the next announcement.
Also, on September 14th, after the Ohigan service, we will be having our Kedo Kai, in which we honor our 88-year-old members and older. We will be having a lunch that day, and because we're going to be we are going to be raising money for a new roof to the building. We're going to ask that members who are not Kedo to offer a donation of $10 per meal. You need to make your reservation for your meal with Gail Okada before September 3rd. The donation is $10 for regular member or non-member for the bento, and the child's bento will be $5 donation. Gail is here today, so if you want to make your reservation for bento to see her today, there will be also a regular bento, a vegetarian bento, and a child's bento available. Thank you.
Any others?
Thank you, Joyce. Are there any other announcements?
I would like to.
Sensei?
Yeah, I would like to add, our 2 friends from Japan here, and it came for the baseball tournament. They were hosted by the Piper family and stayed, I think, maybe over a week, close to that. And so they enjoyed being here and playing in this tremendous baseball tournament that was international. And so, yeah, they made it to the championship game, and they played Alameda. And they won. So very dramatic. It went to extra innings and everything. And so not only visitors but from Japan, but champions. So Yeah, very happy. I'm very honored that they took the time. I'm sure they're very tired, but to come to the temple and to see what a temple here in America is about makes it special, maybe for all of us to be able to see them. And yeah, it was a good thing. So, 英語ももうちょっと勉強しないと。So, yeah. I'm having heck of a time speaking with them because they don't speak any English, I don't speak any Japanese, and so we just kind of look at each other and so. But it's a special thing for them to come all this way and be successful in what they were doing. So nice to see all the more connections like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Next, we would like to celebrate those who have a birthday in the month of